I'm now joined by, first of all, a very good friend of mine, a family friend, a homie from my hometown where I was born and raised, Raynham, and a very successful newscaster, journalist, broadcaster. Well, let her tell you herself, Anila Dhami. Sat Shri Akal, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Anila, tell us a bit about what you do. We all see you on the TV reading the news, but tell us a lot more about what you do.
So I freelance and I'm working for various different companies. So I present for Channel 5 News and produce for the BBC World Service, which I've also presented for as well on their flagship programme News Hour. I have my own radio programme on Sunrise Radio, which we started in November because we were seeing that people from the predominantly British Asian / South Asian communities needed information during the pandemic. And obviously we've been seeing and hearing lots about vaccine hesitancy when it comes to ethnic minority communities. So we'd been talking about this on and off for a long time, about me having my own talk show on Sunrise Radio. And it felt like the right time to do it, where we can bring MPs, bring ministers, politicians, experts to a platform where the community can really engage with them, put their questions to them. And also it's a call-in programme, so people can actually call in and voice their opinions on issues that really matter to them, get involved in discussions and conversations.
Your career, it's not a typical Asian woman career, as we would say. So like, it's not a sort of typical thing that I see Asian women do, although more and more people are coming into media. What made you choose that, and what obstacles did you face in your career? Surely you were put off, like, hold on, this isn't what Asian women do. Why don't you do like become an accountant or a doctor, a lawyer, like everyone else does?
Well, I did work experience when I was 15 at a local radio station because I wanted to be different to everyone else in my year 10 class who were doing, kind of standard work experience placements, which is absolutely fine, but I just wanted to be different. I've always had a big personality and always liked doing something a bit above and beyond. And it was from there that I realised that I loved media. It opened up a whole new world to me that I never knew about before, I didn't know was accessible to me. And when I say I didn't know it was accessible to me, it's because it wasn't presented to me, but I went and found it. So I suppose that's one challenge and obstacle that I overcame, is that you have to go and find opportunities if they're not readily available to you. And careers advisors would say, go into this profession, go into that profession. You probably won't be able to get into this one because we don't have the contacts at this school for that. And you have to think, well, if that's something I'm really passionate about, how am I going to find the contacts and what do I need to do to get there? So it's been one of those journeys where, so from the age of 15, I realised I wanted to be in media. At 16, I found online a summer school that provided journalism training. It was a charitable organisation called Headliners. And they very quickly identified that I had all the skills to be a journalist and be a presenter and be on camera. And so they encouraged me, they pushed me, they trained me, and they always had me in front of camera. And I started interviewing MPs in Parliament from the age of 16. Wow. And going around the country. And it was really good, really, because when you think of like a young person traveling around the country, you think, gosh, your parents, how did they let you do it?
Yeah,
parents really trusted me. And it's probably because I was always really studious. I always got good grades. They knew I was really ambitious. And there was that trust there from the beginning. So I toured the country with Headliners for years, talking about issues, interviewing people in power. And that's when I realised that I could be the mediatory, the person in between who could ask the questions that people want answers to, and hold decision makers to account and inform people. And that's where it really all came from. And I built the contacts. I went to networking events. I put myself out there. I used to go to events on my own. I remember going to one at City Hall on my own. And I just rocked up to this media networking event. I was only about 18. And I started introducing myself to people. And I said, hi, I'm Anila. I'm a budding journalist. And one man, I'll never forget it. And you come across people along your journey that you just never forget. And I don't know who he was, but I'll never forget what he said to me. And he said, "You're either a journalist or you're not." He was like, "You can't be a budding journalist." And so he explained to me how to introduce myself. He goes, "Go over to that group and go and reintroduce yourself." And that's where, you know, you come across people who really help you out, but you've got to put yourself out there as well.
Who did you look up to? Who did you think, right, I want to be like that person? You know, so who
Mm,
was?
it was always my aunts. We had really strong women in our house, really loud, energetic, opinionated, and they didn't hold back. All of my aunts, my dad's sisters, um, went against the grain. They all went to university. One of my aunts has a PhD in science at Imperial, and she was one of the first kind of Asian women at Imperial University back in the day. And they just followed their dreams, and they were constantly, and I suppose they don't see it like that, they just see it as they were just doing what they wanted to do and doing their job and getting the qualifications, but really they were smashing the patriarchy constantly, you know, at a time where especially Asian women, it was what's the point in being educated because you're going to get married? And it was like, you don't want a woman who's too educated because then she's going to be
Oh no, then she caused trouble. She's a
exactly
troublemaker.
a troublemaker. And it wasn't like that in my house. It was, the women would, you know, be very firm and be like, no, this is what we're doing and it's going to be fine. And now, you know, my grandparents are so proud of them. And, you know, that the aunt that studied at Imperial, she's been involved in the
Oh wow.
vaccine making at Imperial. Another aunt's been involved in, you know, in policy making for the whole coronavirus pandemic. So they've all been involved in making history, but they're very humble and they don't see it like that at all.
What about advice would you give to those, say, teenagers out there, the youngsters out there who are considering a career in media, but perhaps their parents are saying, well, hold on, that's not a regular career. Are you going to be able to make a living out of that? You know, is it stable? We've never seen somebody in media before. We've never heard of this. Asians don't do that sort of jobs. What would you say to them who are perhaps, you know, thinking, right, shall we bring this up with our parents? Shall we follow this career or not?
I really believe in healthy communication between families. And I think that if media is a career you want to embark on and your parents are slightly apprehensive about it or they don't know enough about it, then sit down, you know, do your research, sit down with them one evening and take them through it, make them understand it, explain why you want to do it. And I'm sure they'd get on board. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about communicating with your family and showing them why you want to do something and what it's about.
Anila, thank you very much for joining us. We wish you the best with your career and hope you read us the news and provide us information for years to come. And thank you again. And well done on breaking the norms and doing something, you know, which at that time, I suppose, and even like when I was growing up, and even now, it's only really become acceptable, especially with females coming on TV and appearing like on TV and in films and stuff like this. It just wasn't done as soon as you said that. If you'd have said that 20 years ago, you know, you would have been told, no, no, girls, Asian girls don't do this. That's not
Mm,
for us. So well done to breaking the norms, and hopefully you can inspire others to do the same.
thank you very much.